What's up, Madridistas, and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani. It is international break. We haven't even really got the international games underway yet, but they will all be covered on the website, which is managingmadrid.com, where you'll also find two very lengthy features on the site right now by myself and Matt Wiltsey. Go and read those. Those are on the website. And believe it or not, Black Friday is coming up. So that's a thing that's happening. And thanks to our mates at moji-mates.com, you can get a Black Friday discount. Use code BF2024 for all kinds of awesome swag. You can gift these shirts to your loved ones, gift them to yourself. They got some incredible swag, as you guys know. Moji-mates.com. Use code BF2024. In a moment, we're going to be talking about center backs and which ones Real Madrid should sign. Before we do that, quick shout out to our presenting sponsor, TAC Academy. They are hosting our pickup footy and podcast session December 6th in Toronto, which is now less than 1 month away. If you want to do a podcast with us in Toronto at TAC Academy and play some footy and raise some money for some sick kids in Toronto, just click the link in the show notes. We will see you there. It's going to be a ton of fun. All right, let's talk about center backs and which ones Real Madrid should sign.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Guess who's here? Leah Revelle. What's up? How you doing?
What's
Welcome.
up? Thank you. Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Despite the very makeshift, awkward camera setup with people walking behind me, it's okay. We're just going to make do with it. So, Leah, you and I did an exercise similar to this, which was Real Madrid's top right back targets. I think we did top 5. We talked about a bunch of others. And it was kind of like, hey, these are a bunch of players we think Real Madrid should sign but won't sign. And we were actually scheduled to record this segment about center backs last week. Yep. Unbeknownst to us, it got rescheduled for personal reasons. And then a day after it got rescheduled, Eder Militao got another ACL injury, unfortunately. And so now this segment seems even more urgent than if we had recorded it before the Militao injury. So here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. What are the odds? First of all, what are the odds that a single player tears not the same ACL, but opposite in like a season and a half? Crazy. Someone has a voodoo doll.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I really just there was no words that I could adequately come up with to explain how horrifying that was.
Yeah.
And how yeah, I mean, it's just I feel bad for I don't know what he's going through. It must be really, really a gutting thing to go through. So the first thing is our best wishes to Eder Militao. It was a really horrible scene, and it really made that win hard to digest because you felt sick to your stomach watching the rest of the game, knowing what had just happened, and somehow the injuries to Rodrigo and Vasquez and everything else paled in comparison to it because. Mm-hmm. And that's how bad it's been, not only for Militao, but for Real Madrid as a whole. So here we are. I have written down a bunch of notes, realistic options, dream options. And my list, Leah, ranges from unrealistic to realistic, but meh. And unrealistic, but yeah, would be amazing. So what we're going to do is what we did basically for the right back segment. You're going to give me your top 5 lists going from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to talk about it. So your 5th option, Leah. So working backwards, who is the guy?
There's a few. I had some trouble organizing these into a concurrent list because they could all work for various different reasons, but I have 2 at number 5, and I just put them together because they come from the same team, so I just figured whatever.
Okay.
I have Cuti Romero and Van de Ven. Options. I think
I knew
like
Romero would come up on your list for sure.
the thing is, here's the thing. I think like it's hard to say because I do think that he has that like destroyer kind of play style similar to Rudiger. And in the past, what has worked best for us was one kind of each. If you look at like Ramos and Varane, Ramos was the amongst everything else, the like destroyer type, and then where he like cleaned up the pieces. Whereas Varane was much better with Ramos than he was by himself. I still think Varane was very, very good by himself, but I think that Ramos really brought a lot of his skill out of him. Like they were a good pair.
Yeah.
So I don't know how great Cuti Romero and Rudiger would be together, but I think he has the experience of playing at the highest level. He's young. Van de Ven, same thing. Like I don't know as much about him as I do Cuti Romero, but he's fast and also young. So those are my number 5s.
Rudiger low-key is like one of the most important signings we've made in the past X amount of years. Comes over as a free agent. I really loved him. Like and rest in peace, Om and I used to talk about Rudiger a lot, and Matt and I would watch Chelsea a lot because we were covering Kovacic on the loan tracker, and we really liked watching Rudiger play. And he came over as a free agent, and it was a no-brainer, despite us having Militao and Alaba in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt it was a matter of time for Rudiger to fill in, but I definitely didn't realize that he would be such a necessity at this point, given the state of Alaba and Militao. Romero, contract expires in 2027. He would not be cheap. He's probably entering his prime. He's only 26.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he falls in the bracket of, because I think there's like sensible signings, which are cheaper and more affordable, but not that great, maybe older players. And then there's the bracket of, no, these are the players you splash a lot of money for because it's an investment you need to make. So he falls in that category for me.
Yeah.
I have him on this list, not ranked. He's just on my list. I think he's a good shout. The challenge, as you know, with players from that team is, especially when they're under contract for so long, they're not going to be cheap.
Mm-hmm. The thing for me though is pre-Militao injury, I would have said, we just need we need someone to be a squad player to be there in case we need that. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if Militao will ever be the same. That's really hard. He came back really strong after one ACL injury, but two, not only like you said, the mental challenges that will cause him, like the mental setbacks that he'll have, having come back so strong to just get another ACL again, and then just like the physical, ACL injuries usually then result thereafter in hamstring injuries, as we've seen with Neymar. Not always, but when you have 2 bad knees, like that's rough. That's really rough. So I think now it's a matter of like, maybe we desperately need someone in January, but we need to make a more substantial long-term signing in the summer, because I think Militao might drop to that squad role once he's back. I don't think they're going to rush his. I mean, it's at least a year. It's at least the end of the season. Again, who knows? Again, with his recovery, I think probably more. Like, I don't think he'll be back until next season. So, but we can't just cruise with Rudiger and Asensio.
Yeah. I mean, I think you need one from each bracket. You need like someone, just a body who's going to fill in immediately. It may not be the most glamorous signing, but someone that is going to give you some kind of insurance. And then you also need to really think about the long-term investment. And the long-term investment is not someone you can put off really at this point to like, okay, we'll think about it. We were a couple years away. Like, you also need that guy right now. Now that guy is going to be more challenging to get midway through the season, but the stopgap that you need now, that's someone I think you have to figure out. I was thinking, like, I had this joke lined up like before, if we had recorded this before the Militao injury, which we were supposed to, the joke would have been like, haha, here is a list of center backs that we want that Real Madrid won't sign. But now we're in this situation where it's such an emergency that it's not a joke. I mean, it really wasn't a joke to begin with, but they have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's number 4 on your list?
Okay, so that's a good segue that you make, actually, because number 4 is technically number 1, but in the grand scheme of things, number 4 until we can find a number 1,
Okay.
if that makes sense. 3, 4, or 3, 2, and 1 are like more realistic long-term options. Number 4, I just put here because it makes complete sense in every single aspect. Everyone knows who I'm going to say already. I think that he's a free agent. Like, he's training. He's been at the club for several years. Like, Sergio Ramos, I think that, again, he comes back. I know Real Madrid, Perez doesn't like bringing players back. I don't see the downside in this. He's fit. He's fit. He's maybe not match fit, but that can come. He has the experience. He's played for the club. He's a free agent. Hello. Like, he's liking everyone's tweets on socials about going back to Madrid. Like,
Yeah.
for a short-term solution, that seems like the best option to me, especially since the Castilla players are also kind of dropping like flies. And then once we actually invest in a long-term solution, it'll be his time to retire anyways, or he can move into a squad role for a season or whatever. But I think Ramos, like, financially, makes so much sense. There's no contractual obligations. There's no clubs to really like negotiate with, it's just, it makes sense.
I understand why you had it number 4 or number 1. It's kind of like one of those things where realistically he could be your number 1 right now. Is he your number 1 long term? No, but yes, someone who could come in immediately, no risk.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't get why not. I really don't. Like, I understand why they don't want to bring him back from the Florentino Perez perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am surprised that it's not like happening. He's
Like,
right there.
fast.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah.
He's not Sergio Ramos of 5 years ago, but he's Sergio Ramos, and he's a body. And he was, for what it's worth, I thought he was good with both PSG and Sevilla. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't see it as a risk. We'll put it that way. I don't think it hurts to have him in the squad. I think he's just another body that can help you in the depth chart. He doesn't have to start. Now, unless his presence becomes so political and so powerful that, maybe he doesn't perform better than someone like Asensio, and that becomes a problem. I just don't see that really being a problem. I just feel like I think also, like, the leadership aspect of it might not hurt to have in the locker room now either.
Right.
You're talking about leaders in the back line and someone who can help maybe give some tips and stuff. I think one of the problems of the Militao-Rudiger pairing was in part that they were both very hyper aggressive, and I don't know if either of them were leaders in that sense. Anyways, for now, Asensio was there. I don't know how much what's going to be the situation with him moving forward, knowing Carlo, and also how Asensio was going to deal with bigger tests, because I don't think he was tested that much, although he did look good. Sergio Ramos, 38 years old, free, in my opinion, no risk. I had him somewhere in the list. Yeah.
Just, that's the thing. There's 0% risk. And then we kind of need someone with experience, someone with leadership. We don't really have that with Carvajal out, Nacho gone. Like, we don't really have that person really at all, So someone to, like, pick up the team and motivate them if we're down. Like, there is a reason why we were so good at comebacks. And I think part of that reason was, like, the camaraderie, the leadership, the relationship that people had in the dressing room. And with the leaders gone, I think we need that back. So, yeah. No risk, very high reward, in my opinion.
So now I'm very curious to get to your top 3. I'm actually excited.
Okay, so before I get to 3, I want to throw like 3 more ideas into number 4. And
Okay.
those are the likes of like random ones, like super random. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Love it.
hold on,
I'm very
I have my
excited.
list here. Like random, probably not realistic, but like our center backs are also right backs, could work, not much experience, probably cheap. That's the likes of like Kalulu, Mukiele, even what's his face that went to Saudi? What wasn't his name? He was
Laporte.
at no, not him. He's not on my list. And he talks shit about Madrid too, so about Vinny.
Oh,
So
he's not on your list at all. Okay.
no, no, Laporte can. I don't even think. I think that again, short term, maybe if we're desperate. But I don't know. I think that he was a player that like. There's some players that went to Saudi that I was like, oh, that's odd. Like this one. What's his name? Simakan? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Him too. Like he was young. He was playing in Germany. Like it made sense for money for him, like I get that side of it, but like these players are before their prime or in their prime and they're going to Saudi. But Laporte, like he was towards the end, like he wasn't really starting that often for City. Short-term solution, okay, sure, fine. Spanish, same thing, but meh. But I think that like Simakan, Mukiele, Kalulu, like all these players that also are right backs, which if you didn't know, we also need, could add to that versatility short term. I don't know if they're good enough long term. Was just kind of trying to think of cheap, like relatively
Yeah.
quick.
Stopgaps. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are kind of in there with Ramos. Throw Laporte in there too. Fine. But
You know who was ideal to have in the squad in this situation? Nacho. Big miss.
literally
Big loss.
huge. Because these are the moments that Nacho lived for. Like
Yeah.
someone got injured, that's exactly what he did last year. Militao was injured, he stepped up, he played the entire season, and like we won things. So yeah, it's a shame.
So just to discuss Laporte and get it out of the way, since you brought him up, or I brought him up, and then you just dismissed him completely. I think the challenge with him, I mean, he's only 30 still.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his transfer fee that will be a problem. It's that there's no way in hell Real Madrid would or should, for that matter, match the salary he's making in Saudi Arabia right now. So it would have to
0%.
be Laporte being like, okay, I've made enough money. Now I want to be part of something special. I'll be there. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's your top three?
Okay, so my number 3 is Jonathan Tah. I think that could be a good option, especially if a Mr. Alonso comes in the future. Already played underneath, an easier system to adapt to. I know in the last video we spoke a little bit about Frimpong.
Yeah.
And he's just a really attacking fullback. Like he's a wing back. He's not really a fullback, So that would be a more difficult transition. But for Tah, I think that it's an easy transition for him. He has the experience. He now has the big game experience. He's relatively young. How old is Jonathan Tah?
He is 28.
Okay, so he's like in his prime-ish. He's big. Like I think it could be a viable, relatively long-term option.
I have him in my list. I'm quite frankly surprised whenever I bring up his name, and it's not often, but there's just so much pushback from Real Madrid fans saying that he's not good. And I just what I'm confused about in this situation is like nobody is saying that he is the savior, the second coming of Sergio Ramos. What we're saying is that he's an experienced defender who is going to be free.
Yeah.
And so it's as if like we have this like gold mine to choose from of all these center backs just falling upon our laps, and they're just easily attainable, and we're so depleted. Like why would this be such a bad idea to bring in that kind of market opportunity similar to Rudiger? Obviously, Tah is nowhere near on Rudiger's level, but
yeah,
as someone who's experienced, and for what it's worth, for people saying it was just a systems thing with Xabi, and Xabi ball kind of masks how poor he is. For what it's worth, I thought he looked really good for Germany in the Euros as well. But I have him as an option. I think that he should be someone that you look at. And again, he doesn't have to be the solution, but if he's for free and it's worth it, I think. Unless you get, someone else and who's better, and in that case, fine. But if this is what it comes down to, I don't hate this.
Well, here's the thing. I think that you said exactly what it is. It's like we don't really have the ability to choose from this big, huge pool of like world-class center backs, because either first of all, there aren't that many world-class center backs at the moment. Secondly, if there are, they're either in contract for 1 million years or are like 100 million plus. So with someone like Jonathan Tah, who has the experience, but then plays under a more experienced manager, I think that like the 5-back, like playing in a 3-back instead of a 2-back, yes, I can understand that. But we've seen his versatility with Germany, and we've seen him adapt to different systems. He's huge. He's like 2 meters tall almost. You know what I mean? So that will give us an aerial threat, which, to be honest, we don't really have. Like, occasionally Rudiger will get in there and score a header, occasionally Militao, occasionally Tchouaméni, but like not really. Like, we're not really scoring set pieces. And I don't know if anyone's Real Madrid fans specifically that are like Tah haters, I don't know if they've noticed, but like we're not scoring on corners ever.
By the way, that's going to get worse now with Militao and Tchouaméni out.
Yeah, literally.
It was those three. Those were the only three: Militao, Tchouaméni, and Rudiger, and also like our set pieces are being taken by Lucas Vazquez right now. So
yes,
it's not quite Bale, Cristiano, Ramos, Casemiro, and Cruz delivering it anymore. It's gone, long gone. Yeah.
So I don't think, do I think that he's like the most world-class option for Real Madrid? No. Can he be? Like, could he get there? Probably. Like, with the right, and he's a cheaper option. So if he doesn't, like, the worst thing that we can do is sign a $100-and-something million player and then have what happened to Hazard happen to them. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather take a risk on a cheaper, and to be honest, I don't even think Tah would be that cheap at this point. You know, he's tall, he's big, he's not Militao and Rudiger rapid, but he's fast. Like, he has the experience. Like, he's gonna probably be like 70 mil, 80 mil, something like that. Well, he's free, but like, if he
theoretically,
theoretically, like, he's not gonna be that much less than, but I think that if we're gonna take a risk, like, and we don't see the return on investment, then it would be better if we had spent like, theoretically 70, 80 mil versus 100 and whatever. But anyways, I think it's a good option.
Okay. Jonathan Tah, number 3. Who do you got number 2?
Saliba. I think it's obvious.
Attainable?
That's the thing. Don't know. Could be. I'm pretty sure he's out of contract this year.
Not till 2027.
Okay, 2 years. Do I see him not renewing with Arsenal? Here's the thing. I think we said this with the right backs too. A lot of people, like a lot of Arsenal fans, are like, it's the same thing with Trent. People are like, oh, with like Trent, for sure he's a Scouser. He's a Liverpool boy. Like, he's gonna renew with Liverpool. These players are kind of speaking with the mindset that Real Madrid is like they're going to Atletico Madrid.
Right.
Or they're going to Dortmund,
They did this thing with Jude too. They were like, "There's no way Jude will do that. He'll go to
Oh, he's English. He'll stay in England. Like, he'll play in the Premier League." It's not the same. Like, if Barcelona didn't have their like financial turmoil and everything that's kind of happened in the last few years, it would be the same. If Barcelona call or Real Madrid call and want you as not just a squad player, but their starting center back, and they're even willing to pay you, like, let's say they're paying him a tiny bit less, the chances of them going to just like even win things, like, Arsenal's not winning anything either. So although, yes, I can see that he's like solidified this starting spot at Arsenal, could I also see him going to win more and like create this legacy at Real Madrid and be like a better version of what he already is? Also, yes. It's just whether or not we're going to A, wait till he's free, or B, pay his transfer fee in the next however. But if we got Ramos, maybe we could wait. You know? I don't know.
I think out of all the players that I think I've written down, I think Saliba would be among, if not the most expensive that you could possibly purchase.
Yeah.
He's not quite a market opportunity. He has 3 years left on his contract. Would be a good signing. I just don't see Real Madrid doing it at all.
That's the thing. Do you know what? Can you imagine a pairing, though, of Saliba and Rudiger? Like, I feel like that would be a very perfect combination of, like, they both kind of have that, like, destroyer, like, aggression, but they're also very different in the way, you know, but they're also, like, Rudiger's a ball-playing center back. Saliba can be too, I feel. Like, I don't know. I feel like if it was possible, it would be a great option. Like, if Perez was willing to spend the money on that, or wait, or find a short-term solution and wait.
There is one guy, like, on this list I would like for sure, like, just go break the bank for. He's my number one. I'm curious to know if you have him in your list. So who do you have number 2?
Him, Saliba.
Oh, that's your guy? Okay.
That was my 2, yeah. I have
who did you have? Oh, yeah, 3 was Ta. I forgot. Yeah. Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so we're at number 1 already. Who do you have?
Bastoni.
Me too.
Yeah, like clear cut number 1.
25 years old, contract till 2028. Yeah, and in my opinion, the best center back in the world.
Yeah,
he would be expensive as hell. I think Real Madrid should just break the bank.
Same.
Go for the Galactico defender. I think he would be an amazing signing.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a ball-playing center back. He's big.
Can do everything.
Can literally do everything. His, like, arsenal of passing is passing accuracy. He's got the same long balls. And when Inter are attacking, he occupies space up a little bit higher to be part of the attack. Like, he has that offensive output too. So I think, like, without a doubt, he's the best option. And he's the youngest out of everyone that I don't know how old Van de Ven is, but
Saliba's 23, I think. He's younger.
Is he that young? Oh.
Yeah, Saliba's young.
Oh, I didn't realize he was that young. Whatever, regardless. I think Bastoni is just beyond his years as a center back.
So these, some of, like, the more higher profile defenders, like Bastoni, like Gabriel, who we didn't mention, Ruben Diaz, who we didn't mention, Saliba, Christian Romero, even. These guys are going to be, like, in the 60 to 80 million range. And I think the player I'd be most comfortable paying that much money to, like 70 million to, for example, out of this list would be Bastoni. I would feel the most, like, confident in, like, okay, that money is going to good use. So that's my number 1. And that's your number 1. We also had consensus on Trent as number 1 on the right back list.
Yes, we did. Is there anyone else that? The thing is, Bastoni is a no-brainer to me. I would even pay it for him now. Like, pay for him in the summer, pay his transfer fee, and buy him out from his contract. Like, that's how. The thing is, like, do they know?
What?
Is the board in the room with us? Because we don't. No, you know, Tchouameni's injured now too, so Lucas Vazquez is out. He can't play center back. Vallejo.
The new signing is David Alaba, Leah.
That's okay. That's another thing, is if we do sign, like, let's say we decide to wait, which I don't think that we should do, because then the next 3 years are just going to be these awkward, uncomfortable rebuilding years. Like, if, for example, I love Alaba. I'm a big Alaba fan. But I think now he's been out for way too long. The team has changed way too much. Even just like his match, like it takes a long time to get match fitness back, all of these things, it's too much. So for him to go straight back into a starting role, which like at the beginning, that's not what you want to do with him, but that's what's going to happen because we don't have anyone. Literally, there's no one. It's just a recipe for disaster. Look at Reece James. Like Reece James was rushed back from every injury. He just gets injured again, you know? So as a squad player, great. That's great to have. I think, again, he has leadership. I think it's like a subpar Nacho at this point to bring back. But it's not a solution. You know, he's at risk for injury again. Same with Ramos. Like, he's getting older. He's not the Ramos that he used to be, but he's still Ramos. So short term, it makes sense. But if you're waiting until 2028 until like Bastoni, for example, is out of contract, that's 3 years more. What are we? Well, 3 by the end of this season. You know, like he gets an injury and we're just back to square one. Like we're back in the same position. So in my opinion, like I know we just spent money on Jude, we just spent money on Mbappe, but like do they want to win things or do they want to coast and like rebuild for the next few years? It's really like we're running out of Castilla options and academy options too because they're all getting injured also. So like something gotta give.
I mean, Asensio himself has had injuries. Jacobo Ramon injuries constantly this season. Obviously, unfortunately, Jean Martinez, who probably would have gotten his time to shine this season. Probably the Asensio minutes would have gone to him. But yeah, and I think that's probably the most under discussed is like a lot of these options of like, okay, let's ride it out. Let's put Asensio there. Let's put Militao right back, which was a conversation before he got injured, obviously. Let's put Fede Valverde right back. I'm like, Fede Valverde has played the most minutes of anyone on the team. And he wanted to spread him even more thin, but not because now he has to cover for more positions. These are not sustainable solutions at all. At all.
And that's the thing is, we talked about this like 2 or 3 months ago, is that like it's a blessing and a curse that our players are very versatile, but like you take Fede out of midfield and put him at right back, like then he occupies that right hand side, but like you've taken him now out of his best position, his most impactful position. So like what you've removed from one spot and now you have something in another spot. It's not his natural position. He's fast, he's strong, he defends well. Like, will he succeed there? Yes, of course. But now you have this huge gap in midfield that you're kind of just like moving your problem from position to position to position to position. And you're not really solving it, you know?
Yeah.
So like then the creativity, the offensive output, the defensive output in midfield is gone. Tchouameni's injured. Camavinga's at DM. Before Fede might have been able to help cover Camavinga when we're being pressed, when we're defending. But if he's not there, then he's occupying the right at that point. Like he moves to the center to help Camavinga. No one's there on the right. And Fede isn't in the midfield to come and cover for the right back in those situations. You know? So like it just doesn't make sense. Short term, great. If Tchouameni can pop down to center back, that's awesome. If Fede Valverde can play right back for one game and Camavinga can play and cover that, great. Like if Lucas Vazquez, amazing. But like that's not a long-term solution. And in my opinion, that's not even like a half season solution. Like that's something that we need to have replacement players in these positions for these reasons. Because then we said like Tchouameni plays center back. What happens if Tchouameni's injured? Cool. Camavinga plays DM. What happens when Camavinga's injured? And it's kind of like that. Like Tchouameni's also injured now. So what do? We don't have a DM or a center back.
Yeah. These quote unquote solutions are fine to have in emergency situations, one or whatever, like, a few times a season, like ideally only once or twice maximum. But half a season to ride this out is bonkers to me. Bonkers.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes just randomly think about like what if Mourinho was here right now? He always wanted to have two players per position minimum.
Mhm.
You just know his press conferences would have been so different if he was here.
Yeah.
He would not be
Yeah.
like the squad is complete. He'd be calling BS.
Yeah. The thing is,
Um,
waiting for Mbappe, for example, that's fine. That makes sense. Like, Mbappe had his own stuff going on in Paris, but we had options. We knew we had Endrick coming. We had Joselu. We had Rodrigo that was playing up top sometimes. Like, we had these options. But now, like, we don't. We actually quite literally don't have options. And, like, what we've predicted will happen has happened, and now it's just only going to get worse. Like, if we put Asensio there, he plays 3 games, he's not used to the aggression or the physicality or the pace or whatever of the first division, injured. He's playing, for the under 20s or whatever for Spain. He's playing all these other tournaments. He's, you know what I mean? Like, with the schedule too, like, there's no options. Like, the only option is to quite literally sign a player. So, I digress.
I'll flip through some names. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
Just some names that I won't name every single player I wrote down because they're not all feasible, or some of them they're just so silly I'm gonna name just to see what you say.
Okay.
Your reaction would be.
Okay.
I think this is the silliest name. I'm gonna stay all night, all day, wherever you are, what time it is. I don't know. Virgil van Dijk, 33. His contract expires in 2025.
Really? I don't think that'll ever happen.
No.
But
it would be hilarious if you got Trent and Van Dijk in the same summer.
Virgil. Oh my god. Yo, we would be a super, we would be even more super team. Are we a super team at this point? I don't even know if we can call ourselves that anymore. But
let's win a trophy and then.
Yeah. I think that would be great. The only thing that would concern me is his age.
Yeah.
But
could you get him like on a 1-year deal? I would not propose signing him to a long. If you could somehow get him like 1 year, which is not possible. That's why this is the silliest name of all, probably. Yeah, 33 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And an
ACL. Yeah.
Like.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say he's in like very good form. Like, you would never know that he had an ACL injury and came back and is like playing the way that he's playing again, which is great. But the longevity of his knees and also his age, I don't know, would like strike a little bit of concern. But if they were willing to do 1-2 years and free, hell yeah.
What a scenario it would be to get both Ramos and Van Dijk. And get like at least one game where old Ramos and old Van Dijk are starting a game together in the same team. We always used to like. I used to record podcasts, and I still do every now and then with Ryan O'Hanlon, who's a Liverpool fan, and he works for ESPN. And he would write these articles, and he would come to these conclusions that like at their peaks, the most perfect center back pairing of all time would be Van Dijk and Ramos together, and it would be cool to see that. Anyways, what a silly reality but it's not going to happen. But it's just mostly for fun to mention Van Dijk. Someone in the Spanish media, I forget who linked us to him, is Mario Hermoso. 29, good on the ball, would not be too expensive, probably like 20 million or less. Obviously, formerly of the academy, they went to is one of like the million players that went to Atletico from our academy.
He's a good aerial threat, as far as I know.
He's a good squad player. We've been linked to Brazilian kid, shocking, Vitor Reyes, 18 years old from Palmeiras.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about him, but if Juni Calafat trusts him, I trust him. But I don't know what the deal is with that. Oh, do you know anything about, given your Argentinian roots, Valentin Gomez from Vélez Sarsfield?
Vélez is like they're winning the league. They're in insane form.
Can you bring your boyfriend in for this segment? Does he know?
Probably. Valentin. Hey, Vite, he knew right away. What do you think
Valentin
about him?
Gomez, is he good? He can't hear me, can he?
Is he? No, he said, is he good? River wanted him, he said. He asked, can you hear him?
No.
He said back then River wanted him, but Vélez asked for a lot of money, like 15 mil. Imagine.
That's it?
How old
Well,
is he?
he's
Is he good?
21.
21. Well,
Yeah.
Vélez are in first place and they're winning the league.
Okay,
So I
good
would
to
say
know.
that's a
I
good,
mean, I just
probably
saw us
awesome.
linked with him in one of these Spanish media outlets. And then just three more names. Gonzalo Inacio is still at Sporting. He was someone we were linked with a while ago, like a year or two ago. I think it was in the summertime we were linked with him. He'd be about 50 million. Quite good. So is Antonio Silva at Benfica. But I don't know if that's attainable. He has a 100 million buyout clause. So I don't know the situation there. The one that we were also linked with Giorgio Scalvini of Atalanta.
I don't know much about him, but
Me neither, but his numbers are incredible. So just pointing out those names as well, just so we can get through some other kind of like under the radar names.
I feel like Atalanta is one of those sides that like they're just there, but they're never bad. Do you know what I mean? Like they just like get really far in European competitions and then disappear. They don't even disappear domestically because I'm pretty sure they're like what, third, fourth, I don't know. But like they're good. I just think they're very underrated, Atalanta. So I don't think any of those options will be bad. The one that has 100 million buyout, like that just doesn't make any sense. You might as well use that money and put it towards Bastoni. You know, like
yes, with you on there.
If you're gonna, like if you're gonna pay a buyout, pay his. You know, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm intrigued about this Argentinian kid because he's probably like, I will say, no offense, don't divorce me. The level of Argentinian football is quite significantly lower. But a lot of like young talent from Argentina ends up going to, it's similar to like any other like lower league. They end up making moves to European sides, whatever. Do I think making a move from Vélez to starting at Real Madrid? I don't know about that. That's a pretty big like, but if we were to sign, to be honest with you, I think we should sign 2 or 3 defenders. Like, I don't think like we sign one center back, like we break the bank on Bastoni and then that's it, we're done. Like, I think we need to either get Bastoni or get someone expensive and invest in that. And then like really try and flourish academy players or spend a little bit more money somewhere else or get someone on loan or like do some sort of trade swap. Like there's more than just buying one defender and calling it. We still need a right back. We still need a left back. We still need, you know, like the backup issue to prevent this issue in the past. This is the thing, Kiyan, is like now we're in so deep. Like this could have been avoided if we had squad players. If we had backups, if we had squad players, we wouldn't now have to go and buy 10 defenders to like get to where we're supposed to be. You know, we would just have to buy a marquee signing that is like going to be our starting center back. But now we don't have any. We have Viejo. And when's his contract up? Because if he's not getting minutes in this turmoil, like he's just not ever getting minutes. The guy's been loaned 17 times. Like, poor guy.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, these are the risks you run, you know, going so thin in the depth chart on defense heading into the season. Now, like, to be fair, like, it's like unprecedented to go through so many freak ACL injuries in 1 year. That puts you in this position. But, you know,
5.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't, yeah, I can't really make sense of it. I don't know. Like, I really don't. I've said this many times, like I don't even know how to analyze all these injuries because it's not my area of expertise at all. But it doesn't make sense to me, like that all of this happens
I
in the
think there
last
are
2 years.
several factors, but I think that if you look across Europe, like it has to be. I know there are people are going to say like there's so many more factors than just that, but this scheduling, like I just don't think like these are still human beings. They're still bodies. You know what I mean? If you overwork your body, you're going to burn out, and when you burn out, your reaction time is slower. Your muscles aren't as strong. Like it's just science. So like in these situations where like Militao, for example, has an ACL injury, comes back, he started in the Champions League final, didn't he? I don't remember.
Who?
I think so.
Who? Sorry.
Militao.
Yeah. Did he?
No, Nacho did. No, I think Nacho
Not. It
did.
was Nacho and Rudiger. Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless, even Courtois. Like Courtois is different but like Militao is playing in the final or playing in league games before the final, and then he's playing preseason, and then he's playing every single game, and then he's going to all the way. Do you know how far it is from Spain to Brazil? It's like 14 hours or like 13 hours from Spain to Brazil, and a time difference. Playing here, going to Bolivia, playing in altitude, then going back to Brazil, saying bye to still trying to meet, like see all your family and all your friends, and then flying back to Spain, and then the next day playing a league match or training, and the next day a league match, and then training, and then the next day a Champions League match, and then 2 days. Do you know what I mean? Like when is the rest? When are you getting rest? It's like you know what I mean? Like they're not resting every day, and like sometimes there's 2 games. Like just before the international break, there was a match, like La Liga match day on the weekend, and then 2 days later was Tuesday's Champions League match, or no, whenever that was, or again after. I don't know when it is. But
No, the point stands regardless of these.
do you know what I mean? They're
these
not
small
going
details.
home
Yeah.
to rest. Like if they have a league match, they don't have a day off after the match. And one single match, you look at someone like Fede Valverde, who's flying all the way to Uruguay and then all the way back to Spain. Time difference, flight, just flying alone is exhausting as a human, let alone playing like 2 or 3 international matches and then flying all the way back on top of travel, on top of visiting, socializing with family, on top of then like you come back 2 days later, training, whatever, then you have a league match, then training, then you have a Champions League match. Like there's no rest. And so I don't think people really clock like the toll that takes on just a person mentally, physically. Like when you're not 100%, your reaction time is slower, you have less energy. Like these things all contribute to injuries. So there's no surprise that literally, probably if you look at every team in Europe, there's been at least one ACL injury this year. You know, that's not a coincidence. This is the 3rd international break. I blinked, Kiyan, and it was international break again. Like there was just an international break 2 weeks ago. Why is there another one?
So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so can you imagine like the people that are flying, not just even the people that are flying from England to Germany or Spain to England or whatever, like it's still a trip. You're still getting on a plane. But can you imagine the people that are flying to South America or flying to Africa or flying to North America? Like Fede, for example, 3 times in like a month and a half, you're flying 13 hours one way and 13 hours back, and then playing like 3 matches between La Liga and Champions League a week. Like it's insane. It's insane. I think I would have several mental breakdowns. Several. I don't know how they do. I don't
remember what Cruz was saying, that like that's like the main reason he retired was not because the football. It's like it's the traveling, it's the nonstop. Like I don't know how Fede does it. I mean, look, I'm sure he basically probably has a bed and accommodations on the airplane, which helps.
Yeah.
But as someone who, and I know you do this a lot too, as someone who does the red eye from Canada to Spain at least once a month, it takes you like 4 days to recover from that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about playing football. Actually, I think playing football would help, like, because like exercise, the adrenaline like gets you going a bit and wakes you up. But the red eye from
Yeah.
this side of the world to that side of the world, just it knocks you out completely. Like
Yeah.
for like
No,
it's
it's exhausting.
yeah yeah
And they
it's
only
great.
have what, 2 days? When do the games start? Tonight? Tomorrow?
I don't
Like
know.
the last league match was what, 2 days ago? So they really only have like 2 days to train, first of all,
Yeah
because they've not trained with their international squad since 2 weeks ago. But they have to train and then it's a match day. So for me, that's like the number one issue. Like, regardless of what people say, oh, it's not just schedule, it's like this, that, whatever. Granted, if we did have like squad depth, we'd be able to rotate a lot more. But I also
yeah
think that's like a dumb excuse because you're not really rotating your like top players. When you have a Champions League match every single week, you're not rotating your top players. When you're playing like Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, like maybe against who did we just play? Osasuna?
yeah.
Yeah, we probably could have rotated, but we can't because everyone's injured. So, anyways, I digress.
I mean, these are valid digressions and rants and side tangents. Yeah, I wrote it down. Greece, England tomorrow is the one I'm going to watch. And so I guess it all starts tomorrow with regards to international games. This has been like the counter argument from a lot of people. Like, okay, well, we're playing all these games. Why don't you just rotate and invest in your squad?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also kind of defeats the point.
Yeah.
I think just the overall product quality has suffered in the last couple years
Mm-hmm.
and counting. And I think part of that is because the product is like overly diluted now. Like there's just too much of it, and it's not scarce. And players are playing a million minutes. Stars are getting injured,
Yeah.
long-term serious injuries, like not like little niggles, and the product
Mm-hmm.
is suffering.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an entire podcast. We got through many names on the center back list. Let's see what Real Madrid does with that list. And I guess our next project is what, left backs? Are we going to do left backs at some point?
Yeah, we should do left backs.
Okay. I
We
also have to
should.
talk to you. Sid sent me this long email. He's like, "Hey, can you pitch this to Leah? Like, we're gonna do a FIFA podcast." And I was like, "Okay." So I have to like look at his email and like uh,
Oh, okay.
explain to you this elaborate FIFA pitch podcast. So I'll talk to you about
Okay.
that off here.
Okay, sounds good.
It's November 13th, guys. Enjoy the international break. All the writers are covering the Real Madrid players on the international break on the website. We're not going to do it in podcast form, but we're doing it all on managingmadrid.com. And I will be in Dallas this weekend watching Luka Doncic play. So I'm very excited about that. I'll see if I can get some content from that. But yeah, enjoy the international break. Thanks, Leah. It was fun. Catch you next time. Peace
Likewise.
out.
Bye.